Alright, good morning everyone. And I'm Manoj from class. Today, in our podcast series, we have an amazing sporting figure. He's a sports coach, he's a swimming coach, high achiever in swimming in terms of training athletes. It's none other than Mr. Manoj Abeysinghe. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So, Mr. Manoj Abeysinghe has been coaching in Sri Lanka for a long time. He was one of, I think I was trained by him when he came down to Sri Lanka in 2001, I think, or 2000?
2002.
2002. I think that was the first time he came to Sri Lanka to coach the team, yeah. So, we got a lot of memories, very tough coach. The very challenging training under Abeysinghe after training with some coaches in Sri Lanka. So, he's the founder of Killer Whale Aquatics. He's got many local medals, but amazing highlights. Being semi-finalists, he has semi-finalists in Commonwealth Games, he has 5th place in the Asian Games, 2 Commonwealth Youth Silver medals, the first Youth Commonwealth Bronze medal, and 19 golds, 18 silvers, 14 bronze medals at South Asian Games, and he's just started. And I think we get a lot more medals coming to Sri Lanka under his guidance. So basically today, what we are after is we have a few questions. Again, some of the questions are from the viewers who just wrote into us and wanted to ask, and some of the questions are more apparent and more relatable to this current situation in COVID pandemic. So, sir, as the first question, I'd like to ask you, how has the COVID-19 affected your program? How have you kept the program alive?
First, I want to thank you for inviting me here today, and I want to do what I can. We had a chat in the morning before we came in to maybe uplift the standards or uplift swimming for that matter. COVID-19, no matter how well we have been prepared, it is an unprecedented event. Unless you had lived in the 1917 or whatever when that Spanish flu happened, none of us alive has faced anything like this. We have done online training, like land training, but then to stay motivated when you are doing remote sessions like that, it's pretty difficult for both athletes, and swimmers are no different. So the question that I ask my guys is, we don't know when, but there will be a end date to this. When that day comes, do you want to be ready or not? So if you want to be ready, then you do the best you can, and you do whatever you can to make sure that the time affected by the pandemic is not a complete waste. So it has been difficult. It's still difficult even now because we're still not training at 100% because of numbers restricted by the hazards. At the same time, it was a pretty eye-opening thing. I mean, swimming is a sport, part of life. So when so many millions of people are dying all around the world, do we have the right to be focused on a sport and do things like that? Is also a question that has been asked, and it's a valid question, I believe. But at the same time, this is the life of these athletes. They have spent countless number of hours and years training for this, and when something like this hits, like if you imagine the last Olympic Games 2021, first it was 2020, then it was postponed 2021. How do you adjust to that? Second, if you are not training in a bubble, like our swimmers, like Matthew, if you are training on your own, and you don't have the luxury of the US swim team that would have been training in a bubble, or Australian swim team that would have been training in a bubble. So if that was the last Olympics, then I mean, after swimming for decades, how do you face that? So, but then this is life, and I guess sportsmen and women are the best suited people to face unprecedented events like this. So as a sportsman or a woman, you should be able to come out of this better than a normal person. Right?
That's correct. So you rightly said that it's maybe not just physical. It's a mental preparedness or mental ability to probably go through it for an extra year. So, like you said, Olympics, it's not merely training or it's just postponed by a year. That year,
Or you just your mental game.
correct, and also a physical right, sir, because if you're right, trying to peak
Yeah.
in 2020, but then boom, you need to peak in 2021. So that's a physical and mental tough thing. So is there anything motivational or anything that you kept telling your athletes to focus in it during that period? Is there anything specific? Just a 2-3 line answer to that?
What I tell them is you've been doing this for a long time. You know what's at stake. Are you going to allow this to affect your plans? If you're not, then you need to deal with it. You need to put in the work the best you can and try to be the most prepared yourself that you can be in this sense.
How important is strength and conditioning for swimming in terms of, mainly in terms of conditioning? And how important is strength? So strength and conditioning is 2 parts. So there is bit of strength, bit of conditioning, and how important is each of those?
Back in 2000, in the 2000s when Papa was swimming, it was a more finesse stroke, more conditioning than strength. Now with Caleb Russell and people like that, it's more power stroke. So there's a lot more work in the gym that they do nowadays than what used to happen. So strength and conditioning is absolutely important, and it is a one thing we must not forget. It's supplementary to what we do in the pool. It can't replace anything that is done in the pool. So, but at the same time, it's a very specialist area. I will give you an example. Before SAF games, I wanted to get a proper strength and conditioning coach involved. The ministry said, okay, talk to a guy in Australia, Sri Lankan guy. He wanted $20,000 to come and coach for 6 weeks. So, if you take the US team or any world class team out there, they have the world's best strength and conditioning coaches available to them. In Sri Lanka, it's pretty difficult. Maybe that's where you guys come in. So I don't want to go and say, okay, X, Y, and Z. What the way I would do it is I will tell. If you were to work with me, I will tell on this athlete, this is what I need, this is what I need. How to go about doing that is your specialty. You need to decide how to do that without affecting what's happening in the group. So I think that's the way this works. But at the same time, strength and I think mostly you're right. Strengthening doesn't need to be in the gym itself, and conditioning also doesn't need to be only in the pool, right? But it has to be a the way it will work. The best would be if the strength and conditioning program can mesh properly with the swimming program, so that the athlete benefits from it. If the programs are not meshed, not matched, you do something different and I do something different, most times it's more harmful than good. So I don't, it's a specialist area, and that's why I wanted to help. I don't have the knowledge about certain conditions that you have. And I should have it, but my job is not that. Okay, so that's why I wanted to help before start, but unfortunately it didn't happen. So maybe if the opportunity arose again, you guys would step in and help.
Of course, you're right. The need is every industry in sports is not professional. So yeah, I think everywhere in the world, you get a director of the sport, the person who's very technically sound. That person generally becomes the director of the sport, and everyone comes under that umbrella. And you rely on the professionalism of each silo of individual to create, and then everyone comes in as a team and the athlete profits from it. So that's how it should be structured. Maybe Sri Lanka will get there soon, hopefully. But
medals we have to get.
Correct. and that's the only way forward. Yes, so in terms of strength and conditioning side, definitely it doesn't have to be in the gym. It doesn't have to be the traditional spot land pull up maybe swimming like spot land and bench press for swimming, but also you can find many other ways in which swimming. But swimming is a sport in water, therefore the medium is different. Coming from a land, from dry land to water. So if you can touch a bit on the conditioning part, the benefit of the maybe younger coaches, what is the endurance space that they have, what the aerobic space, do you in terms of your top level athletes, is it broken down into seasons? Just a bit of, you can touch a bit on that.
Everything is broken down into seasons. Because in the strength and conditioning, the focus needs to be at different phase of the season, whether it's competition phase, whether it's high training phase, or whether it's technique development kind of phase, water field phase. I think whatever phase that swimming is in, all the other supporting programs that's supposed to pick it up is supposed to be on the same wavelength. If not, when I'm doing hard sets to keep the conditioning level up, if you're doing meat prep stuff, it doesn't work, right? So I will tell you this, I don't take credit for it, but when I came to Sri Lanka in 2010, I don't think there were many programs that were doing a structured by that program. And I did that, and people saw the benefit from it. And it was nothing new to me, because it was happening from where I came from. Right? The difference between the 1970s swimming and 1990s or 2000 swimming is, I believe, the advancement of strength and conditioning outside the water. Okay? It has become, as you said, a specialist, professional, driven component of training. And it has a huge impact on high performance. Without that, you don't have high performance. So that's why all these collegiate programs in the US, all these national programs like Great Britain, Netherlands, Australia, South Africa, all of those places, they do have this. If we want to win medals, those are the people we need to compete against. Without doing what they are doing, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Without doing what they are doing, we are not going to have a chance. Maybe we need to figure out how to do it better than they are doing so that we have a chance. Better chance. But without doing it at all, there is no way. So, structure, if not at the highest level, even from the very youngest athlete, coordination that you develop on land definitely carries to the water. Core strength that you develop on land carries to the water. Leg strength that you develop on land, if I don't do anything, I make the young people run. If nothing else is done, they run. That carries on into the water. So, I don't think you said water medium and then outside is different. But the coordination of an athlete, the strength of an athlete, certain stuff, not everything. All of those that you achieve on land, it carries on the water.
Okay, so our next question is a common question. So we did a bit of swimmers as well, and I think a lot of swimmers need physiotherapy as well. So physiotherapy, unfortunately, is looked at on as massage only in Sri Lanka. Have you had an athlete who has had intervention from physiotherapists that has actually assisted in that athlete's progress after injury or after that period? How important is physiotherapy in terms of swimming, if I may ask?
Now, if you take physiotherapy to a higher level, you guys do an identification of the body structure, the strengths and weaknesses. So, in consultation with the coach, if I tell you this athlete's flexibility of the knees is not enough for the breaststroke to be effective. That's where the partnership will work. Right? Physiotherapy for me is twofold. One is preventive. It doesn't need to be once you are injured, you do physiotherapy. Right? The second thing is rehabilitation. When you're training at this level, your body is put under stress the entire time. And you're on the verge, you can go this way and injure, you can go this way and stay safe. If you don't go to that level of training, then the results can be mediocre. If you want results, then you need to push the limits every single time. Right? You can't do the same thing over and over and over again and expect different results. If you want to have different results, you got to do something differently. That's the only way, right? So physiotherapy is absolutely important. And I have had people, I don't want to say the name where they have gone to the not yet everyone, but they have had a body scan done, they have had their flexibility in their joints and their strength and weaknesses left to the right side of their body, and from one joint to the other, all of those done. And there are certain things that they have done intervention wise that have prevented injuries from happening and also improved performance, because in swimming, flexibility is very important. It doesn't matter how strong you are if you can't apply that strength in a full range of motion. Right? So physiotherapy will help that. So that's why I said one is intervention. Intervention two ways again. Intervention not to injure yourself. Intervention to lift up your performance or training limits. So both those things, and then if you do get it, if you're unfortunate to get injured, then rehabilitation.
Okay. So is it wise in your opinion for a physiotherapy procedure? Is it any may not be swimming, but anything on a weekly or something basis, or as a menu as a coach wants?
I think assessment, evaluation, and intervening at the right moment can only happen if it's done consistently. It can't happen when something goes wrong. If you come, then it's probably already fixed. Yeah. So any program, but only problem in Sri Lanka, we don't have the resources to do that. But any national level program in any other country would have all of these things happening regularly. And if you take Sri Lanka cricket, I'm pretty sure they do that. That's because they have the money. Unfortunately, Sri Lanka for some reason don't think. I don't want to be political, but I'm saying this: if you have a healthy population, later on in life, the amount of money you spend on healthcare can be reduced, right? So I think it's a worthwhile investment for a government to make on sports, make your population more sporty and more engaged in physical activity. They will reap huge dividends in the end, because the cost of mitigating those illnesses come in life is hell of a lot more expensive than spending some money on sports to prevent it in the first place. So, unfortunately, in this country, we don't have that. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't.
Okay. And so, having a physiotherapist or someone in the medical field coming in on a weekly basis or maybe monthly basis, whatever.
Yeah, some regular interval.
Yeah. Okay, there's a question that I asked that I'm going to push back to later, because it's a more important question that I want to ask. And that, as a sports science company, we are trying to figure out, and we would want to know your view on it. So, in 1991, we had the likes of Indian and Abeysinghe. Then we have Andrew and Matthew, Andrew before and now Matthew, and some other swimmers. Getting another sport, we have Sri Lanka in 2000, we have 1996 World Cup in cricket, and all that, right? So we see a drop in overall sports in Sri Lanka, in the sense that, how can I define it properly? Is that not a drop in level locally, but in comparison to the international levels, have we gone with them, or have we just stayed at the same level, or slightly gone higher like the other sports that just really shot up? Is it because there's no successive development plan in Sri Lanka, or is it because that they have some structural or some monetary problems in Sri Lanka? What is your personal thought as a coach on that? Your view?
You mentioned Julian Bowling and cricket champion, and then there came Connor Francis or Matthew or Kyle or the Ryan sisters. All of those people are exceptional athletes. When you create a policy for development of sport, you can't cater that or you can't base that on exceptionalism. The majority of athletes are not exceptions. They are of a certain standard, right? What would happen to USA swimming if they base everything on hunter clubs? Once a century athlete. Yeah, so you can't base what you do based on that. It's a few things. I wrote it down here. I thought that was a very, very important question. Structure. I will go bottom up. Structure first begins with the training program. If the training program structure is ineffective, whatever happens elsewhere doesn't matter. Then the national body. Then the Ministry of Sports, which is the highest thing for sports in Sri Lanka. If there is no coherent structure from the ministry, a development plan, policies that are in place with a long enough duration so that they can come to fruition. If the national body is not aligned with that, and then if the national body doesn't give direction to the training program as to how to go about it, we are doomed from the start. That is why you have highs and lows. Whenever we have a higher caliber swimmer, we have exceptional performance. When we don't have, there is a lack of structure.
So is it a visionary thing, or is it something?
It's not a visionary thing.
So we just don't have a.
Now, our culture is a problem. I don't think there is any educator in Sri Lanka. Most educators in Sri Lanka do not recognize the value of sport. I will give you an example. On the right at the top, the UGC. One of my students was selected to university. He asked to be changed to the Colombo campus so that he can continue training for SAF. SAF is our Olympics at the moment, right? We had to win SAF, we had to beat India to get the next step. Yeah. Without doing that, how we are just dreaming how to compete against China, Japan, and so on and so forth. So the UGC chairman's comment was swim or study. I have been doing this since 2010 in Sri Lanka. The biggest difference that I see, I have coached almost 20 years in the US before that. It's not talent, it's a commitment. Obviously, if you have a swimmer totally focused on swimming, that person will be relatively a good swimmer. If you have someone totally focused on sport, on studies, you would have the best studious student, right? Now, these are student athletes. They need to find a balance between the two. I haven't met a parent in Sri Lanka, except for myself, who would allow their athlete to put things on the line with their future and look at school as a means to an end. Most of these guys are going to go on to a 4-year degree at least, right? Some wants to be an engineer or a doctor. When you visit the doctor's office, do you see the doctor's O-level results on the wall? Do you see the doctor's A-level results on the wall? All that you want to know is this guy is a qualified medical practitioner and he is a specialist in whatever you are looking for in health, right? But the thing is, the Sri Lankan parents, the mindset of Sri Lankan parents, I don't blame them for that. You want 9 A stars, O-levels. You want to do the maximum number of subjects that you can take for A-levels and you want all A stars for that too. In order to do that, you have 24 hours in a day. You need 8 hours sleep for a professional athlete minimum. Or I don't want to say professional because these are amateur athletes, but athlete of a higher caliber aiming to win medals internationally is what I'm talking about. 8 hours sleep, you have 6 hours school, and then you have 4 hours tuition, and then you train. So if you were to do all of those things at the highest level, something is going to give. So it can be, if you get 8 A stars or 9 A stars, the amount of work that you need to put there, you have to take that away from your sport, right? Training. And your sport probably requires more effort because you're trying to achieve something of a very, very minute percentage. If you have 9 A stars, then diamond doesn't nowadays is How many Asian medalists do we have? None. How many Commonwealth medalists do we have? None. How many have made to the finals in the Olympics? None. So you need to put a little bit more there. But the thing is, in Sri Lanka, our culture, no parent will put a sport other than cricket maybe ahead of studies. That needs to be mitigated at the highest level. That's why structure is important coming from the industry. We as coaches, we can only do so much to try and change the mindset. But if they don't see a value, educators don't see a value, parents don't see a value in putting all of this effort because they don't see a structure where their children will be able to go to the pinnacle of sport. So why put so much effort into something that you're not going to give you anything you need?
And also the risk that of leaving everything on the line.
Yeah.
And sir, do you think that a collaboration with the industry along with the private sector can solve this problem to a certain degree?
I do. Actually, I do. Because when you make policy, you must get the viewpoints of all stakeholders. You can't just take the viewpoints of the bureaucrats. Right? You must take the input from people who are in the mix of things, doing things day to day. So definitely it has to be a public-private partnership. And again, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, that's how it is in other countries. So if they were successfully doing in that model, we can assume that we also may be successful.
Yeah, and also where the funding comes in, the parents can be confident that their children will be taken care of. They're looking at scholarships for kids who are, athletes. They can be involved if they want to, but also maybe assuming that it happens in other countries.
I have put that forward to the National Olympic Committee and I put that forward to the minister. When I came to Sri Lanka, very soon I realized that I don't have the resources to take these swimmers to the very top. One is lack of competition in training, lack of facilities, lack of access to higher caliber professionals on these specialist parts, which is all part of training. So I decided, which is a tough enough task, that I would want to train my guys where they would be good enough to qualify for scholarship to the US. But even if you do that, it's maybe 50%, 60% whatever. Now, if you look at the final medal tally at Kenya Olympics, the actual US medal haul is not the US team only. There's a vast number of other swimmers who train in US universities, go through the process, use that system to come and win medals. So, for a country like us where we have limited resources, to focus on something like that. If you achieve a scholarship, say you get 20% or 30% funding, they don't give that out of charity. You need to earn it, you need to be good enough. So we already have a foundation, we have built something. Sri Lankan sport, our trainers, our coaches have a structure in place where we can take them to a certain standard. Beyond that, if you want to do it, you allow them to go there. It's a worthwhile investment for the ministry because we have identified for them the people who have a chance to go and win medals. Then to invest in their education and tell the parents, we will pay the balance. You think that any mother or father will say, okay, don't swim? If they are given that assurance, and don't we have a better chance of winning a medal someday? So these are things, that's what I'm saying, these are things that's a proper structure, identifying what we need to do. Development and high performance are two different things. You can't approach those things the same way. Development is important because without development you don't get the high performance people. But you have to invest a heck of a lot more funds in high performance in order to get these medals. These other countries, their budgets are in millions of dollars. How do we compete with them? They have access to the best. I have nothing against go anyone else. I'm pretty sure you guys are competent people. I don't know how you rate yourself, but if you take the US team, they probably have the world's best. Right. And if you take the Australian team, they probably have the world's best. Now, how do we get our people? How do we get you to be able to compete with them? How do we get you to be better than them? It's not all about money also, most times. And then nutrition or training facilities and then if you have these people going to a training program in the university, all of those guys are like-minded people with like-minded goals. So when you train, you don't have those mismatches. You can't have a swimmer who's going to go try to win a medal at Asian Games training with someone who's going to stop for O-levels. Team culture is very important. So that's why I maintain a strengthened thing. My training is you're a student athlete. Even if you have exams, you need to be able to do both. As a swimmer, more than any other sport, you have time management skills. Don't wait until the last minute time. That's when you have to stop swimming for 6 months so you can do your O-levels. No, do it every day. What you need to do. So I don't put people who do that in sports. That's lack of commitment. Okay, if you want swimmers of a certain caliber, of that caliber, you need commitment and consistency. There are, especially in a sport like swimming, aerobic base sport, there are certain training blocks that must happen at certain times in swimmers' career. If those things don't happen at that time, you may look like a Mercedes, but you have a market engine. There's nothing that you can do to change it later on. So 16 years is a very crucial age. 18, 19 years is a very crucial age. If you are going to win medals internationally, but mostly our guys are done way before that. So that's where the structure comes in and right from the top.
Correct. So answer to that question is that we have outliers and we are relying on them because we are naturally talented, amazing athletes. But we need a development structure so that we can move on to a high performance structure. And within that structure, everyone needs to go through that process of maturation. The coach, that is specific to the sport, the athlete, the parents, everyone together,
Every stakeholder.
everyone needs to go up to the maturity for us as strength and conditioning. We need to be able to compete at the world or with the world number one. Coaches have to compete, the athletes have to compete. If not, our dream of winning the Asian game Commonwealth game,
It's a dream.
Olympic games, we'll always be represented.
Brilliant.
So you answered most of that. So the last question that we would like to ask you is, yes, you have given us the structure of the Asian Games and all that. I believe you're having the Asian Games in 2022 or
2022.
2022.
And our Asian Games might be postponed. I'm not
Because
sure.
of-
Yeah.
Maybe 2023 or
Maybe 2022.
yeah. So where is Sri Lanka currently now? I know we have all these problems that we are trying to solve out, so it takes a while. But where are we right now?
I'm not sure about the people that have been training outside. I can personally say to my people that he has not been training since our games. And I don't know about others, but every swimmer in Sri Lanka, we have had haphazard training, many disruptions, and complete stops for the last year and a half or more. We are not going to be ready for 2022. Swimming is not a sport that can be done that way. As I said before, ideally, you should be looking at 3 cycles, which is 4-year cycles, Olympic cycle, Commonwealth cycle, Asian Games cycle, everything is 4 years. We should be looking at 3 cycles in order to properly prepare. If we are going to prepare, we need to make sure every stakeholder is on board, especially the parents. Because in our culture, nothing happens without their consent. That's one. Second thing, most of our swimmers, 90% of them are school-going children, not adults. So they are minors. We have to make sure that every single person is fully on board. The swimmer needs to be on board. The trainers, when I say trainer, it includes the coaches, it includes all of the other specialist personnel that needs to back the coach. The parents needs to be on board, the educators needs to be on board, because what will happen most time, what happens is when they put too much emphasis on sport, then there's pressure, reverse pressure coming from the educators saying that you need to do this. So everyone must understand the effort that is necessary in order to succeed. Succeeding means winning a medal. This is, I would say, the second highest or the third highest competition in the world. Just the Olympic Games. It's a toss-up between Commonwealth Games and Asian Games. The first one sport to sport. I think swimming, Commonwealth Games a little harder. Asian Games are the third highest competition in the world that we're trying to win medals. It is not going to happen without everything falling into place, especially for a country like Sri Lanka. So we must get everybody together. So we need a structure. Structure needs to come from the ministry. It needs to be board, or it needs to be adhered to by the National Federation. Federation in terms needs to trickle it down to the training locations or training facilities or training groups or training institutions. One, train the coaches. Without educated coaches, without capable coaches, without committed coaches, you are not going to have success in competitions. When I say coaches, I mean every single person, every single discipline. Okay, every single person involved has some input into the development of the swimmer. Appreciate them so that they feel committed, they don't mind committing more of themselves. Then you need to have a clear structure, clear defined policies in place for development of the sport and for high performance. You can't mix the two. The amount of resources that you need to put one and the other, if you're going after medals, you have to put a lot more emphasis on high performance and resources for high performance than you do for development. That doesn't mean if you want to keep this cycle going, if you look at, say, you want to look at Asian Games 3 cycles from now, 4th cycle will be 1 cycle behind. 5th cycle will be 2 cycles behind. So it has to be consistently done over time in order to do that. If you want to sustain it, then it has to be a program that is that goes on year after year. You gotta refine it, you gotta fine tune it, but every time you come back, it needs to be a little bit better with experience. So that is needed. Then you need to identify the athletes, and we know what the athlete is easy. That's up to the coach. Winning over the parent is up to the governing body. Without winning the parent over, there is no way. There is an education program in US says to me for parents of youth national athletes. National team members are all, parents are not involved because they are adults. But the youth national group, parents are involved. They are shown, here's the path, here's what we're trying to achieve, here's what it takes. But if you achieve it, here are the benefits. No one is going to come and do anything for nothing, right? Sport is the same. And I don't teach my kids to, I don't want to call them kids. I do not teach my athletes to kill themselves for nowhere. If they are doing that, it needs to come with results. So all of those things needs to be in place. We are not ready for 2022. We may have a chance in 2026. We should be looking even beyond that. That's the only way. Other than that, it's just a dream. And as I told you before, if we can get our athletes to go someplace where they can train at a higher level, train with higher caliber training partners, train with more resources, all kinds of resources available to them. If we can do that, then once that athletes get a foot in the door, supporting that athlete to continue is a responsibility of the National Federation and the ministry. Because that's not money thrown out in vain. You already have an athlete who have achieved certain things, got into a program that will take the next step. It's logical to make sure that athletes are given the resources to complete that process. If you do that, then we have chances. If you don't do that, then we need to make sure we have those same resources, those same circumstances that we can duplicate in Sri Lanka. If you do that, then yes. If not, now we have to.
Alright, sir. Thank you very much for your insight in terms of swimming, and I think it's more than swimming in terms of development of sport. Our main objective with this podcast is to ensure that all of us understand of how sports can develop, and it's not a 6 months or 3 months preparation. And there's a lot of information in this, and I find it very difficult to summarize everything in the end. But thank you very much, sir, for coming and making us understand and helping us understand how important each and every step is towards winning our medal, and that's our common goal.
Thank you very much for having me, and this kind of thing that you're doing is absolutely important for the education of all stakeholders. So I wish you all the best to continue it.
Thank you.